It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I think that is how one would summarize the state of the software engineering job market right now. Everyone thinks that AI is eating up the job market, especially for juniors. But to show just how confusing things are, I want to highlight two seemingly contradictory pieces of data and then talk about them a little bit. This first graph here is showing how software engineering job postings have been spiking since about mid 2025. But on the other hand, here is a graph from a recent paper showing how the number of junior software engineers has fallen off a cliff since around late 2022, with no such declines in mid-career and senior software engineers. How does one reconcile these two things? What's actually going on here? This first graph is from a report from Citadel Securities that came out just about a week ago. And in this, the author is trying to make the point that AI exposed industries are not actually seeing headcount contraction. In this next graph, he looks at another very AI exposed industry, which is customer service. And you see a similar trend in that the number of job postings for that is going up. The thesis here is that AI is creating jobs and increasing the rate of new business formation, even in industries, especially in industries that are exposed to AI. But the thing to remember about this graph is that it is counting job postings. So it is forward looking. It is not actually looking at people employed right now or as of the date on the x-axis. On the other hand, these graphs, these are taken from a paper by Brynjolfsson et al. And cited in the recently released Stanford AI Index report. They are actually looking at the number of people employed in these roles. And like they say over here, they see a sharp divergence between junior and senior roles. Among workers ages 22 to 25, employment in the most AI exposed occupations has fallen roughly 16% relative to the least exposed. At the same time, the authors of that study issued an update to that paper where they said after controlling for various things, the timing of the employment decline shifts to 2024 rather than late 2022. And the causality is much messier. You can't pin it just on AI. The thing is, I talk to so many early career folks or folks that are close to graduation or have recently graduated, and the feeling out on the street matches what this graph is showing, which is that the entry level job market in software engineering just seems to be really tough right now. And maybe that was due to not just AI, but as many people have speculated, it was a correction from the massive overhiring around the COVID years. And if you look forward, which is what this graph is doing, looking forward at job postings, so how many roles are open, the tide has turned and the worst is behind us. One framing I like to give when I speak to folks is that there is plenty of opportunity, but all the old scripts have been torn up in that during the internet boom years, 10, 15, over the last 10, 15, 20 years, there were fairly stable scripts, fairly stable job expectations and ladders, and a fairly stable way to progress in your career up that ladder. But AI, especially in junior software engineering, is completely changing what that ladder means. So, all the well known, well understood scripts that all of us had been using, not just new employees or fresh grads, but even engineering managers and leaders all those scripts need to be rewritten. So there's plenty of opportunity, but the old scripts don't work anymore. All the best.